hey, if you want to be effective, you need to start treating these income producing times, these income producing activities, prospecting, lead gen, you need to treat those like an appointment. Let's dive into this today, man. I really am excited about this call today. Just kind of being in this space and the landscape, what it is right now. I think this is going to serve a lot of people. So the first trait that I see in all successful agents that they have is that they follow a daily schedule. So I want to unpack that a little bit. AJ, what are your initial thoughts on following a daily schedule?
Yeah, one of the things I learned early on in my career is if it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist. Simply meaning if you don't time block the key income producing activities, it's probably not going to happen, So it's like if you plan out your whole week ahead of time and the key elements are in there of what makes you successful, it's going to be a win for you. And if they're not in there, well, it's probably not going to happen. So it's time blocking, really, maybe things with your kids, your spouse, all your personal stuff first, working out, your hobbies. So get all that in the calendar. But then between, your working hours, say you work from 8 to 4, 8 to 5, or 9 to 6, whatever it might be, really taking a look at your day and being very efficient with your time. And then the one thing that I want people to remember too, when it comes to really having a schedule, if you erase something, you have to replace it later in the week. I know a lot of times agents get busy and they find any excuse possible, maybe to skip prospecting, lead generation. So they skip it, so they're erasing it, whether or not they actually erased it or not, they missed it. So if that happens, especially for income producing activities, you got to replace it. You got to put it back in your calendar somewhere else, or you just start getting behind on your goal. I found that to be crucial. And yeah, you just kind of, you stop wasting a lot of time when you follow your schedule. I know you and I, John, we're firm believers in, freedom comes from having discipline to follow a schedule, from following your calendar. And I think a lot of agents miss that. So it's essential, man. I think that's where agents should start. They got to get with their mentor coach and figure out, hey, what does a productive week look like? And then time block that, schedule it out every week.
Yeah, I had a mentor I worked with, and he used to have me color code my schedule. And he'd be like, all right, there's green time, there's personal time, and we allocated blue to that. And then he said, so there's green time, which is money-making time, personal time, and then there was just like red, which was like things that had to happen that were necessary, but not necessarily income producing activities. And we used to it would be interesting to see the colors on there. And when you had that green time, it was like, hey, if you want to be effective, you need to start treating these income producing times, these income producing activities, prospecting, lead gen, you need to treat those like an appointment. Because if you were on a listing appointment, you wouldn't stop to do your laundry or check your email in the middle of it. And yet that's what so many agents do when it comes to prospecting. One thing that I've always done is try to take what are the things that are going to move the needle the most and try to schedule those things first. So once I have my schedule and I've sort of gotten my personal boundaries in there, my personal time, and I'm like, this is what I'm working with. This is what I'm creating and providing for my family with. What are the critical activities that have to happen? You alluded to it with the lead generation and the prospecting. And what I think is always interesting is if I'm coaching an agent and I look at what they're actually doing, I find that they typically conceptually understand what I'm saying right now, but they do the opposite. So they let their prospecting times come, whenever they might happen or fit in. And as a result, they don't. AJ, did you schedule your prospecting time first, or how did you do that?
Yeah, it was pretty simple for me. Like you said, most important thing should be in your schedule first. And then I think most important thing should be not only put in your schedule first, but it also happen first. That way you can't miss it. It's so easy to say, well, I'm going to prospect from 4 to 6 every day. And then your day gets out of hand, things come up, you got to pick up your kid from school because he or she got sick. You got a closing that got rescheduled or pushed back. So you got to go to that at 4 o'clock, or so many things can happen. Your day just gets out of control, and then you miss the prospecting session and you never replace it. So to avoid that from happening, I recommend, and this is exactly what I did, is every day from 8 to 11, I was on the phone prospecting and doing lead follow-up. It was that simple, and I never let anything get into that time block. And what you said, John, with that color exercise, because I did the same thing with my calendar at one point, like, let's say the red stuff is the stuff that has to happen, but it's not necessarily income producing. Those are also the things that you can delegate, so it's really cool when you see, all right, you got your personal time in blue, money making in green. You want as much money making green time as possible in your work time, and as little red as possible. And then you can start to see, well, hey, if I did hire an assistant, what would they do? Well, they would start taking the red tasks off, and that would allow you to have more green time. That's going to be negotiating contracts, lead generation, going on appointments. That's it. So that exercise is so powerful. So if you feel like, maybe you got too much on your plate right now, or you're really not spending enough time on generating new business, this is a great exercise for anyone to do to start to figure that out. I mean, you can hire a virtual assistant, whatever, to take that off your plate.
Yeah, it's so good, man. Like, I actually didn't do it that way, but a lot of top agents that I know, they have that coveted 8 to 11 morning time block. And I know they're serious because maybe it's somebody that's in my world or in my organization, and I'll reach out to them in the morning and I get a reply back, hey, can I call you after 11? And it's like, they're doing their prospecting time, and those are how they're winning it. I actually didn't do it that way. I really didn't like prospecting, as most agents probably don't, but I knew it was a necessary thing in order to hit my goals. So my mentality going into it was, how do I minimize the amount of hours that I prospect, but maximize my results? So what I personally did is, I don't even know how I came in touch with the MIT lead response study, but early on in my career, that got drilled into me. And it was such a profound thing because it gave me the confidence to know, okay, this is when I'm going to put my time in, and this is when I'm going to get the best results. So for me, that was Wednesdays and Thursdays, and it was 8 to 9 a.m. in the morning and then 4 to 6 a.m. at night. Now, sometimes I'd have showings in the afternoon, but I could still get the 4 to 5 block in at night. And a lot of times I'd have showings scheduled and they'd cancel, and I'd just replace it with more green time. So if you're not where you want to be and you want to get further faster, just increase the amount of time that you're prospecting and lead generating, and voila, that's what's going to happen.